It was a bright Monday morning when Thomas Carter, a millionaire CEO of a powerful tech company, stepped out of his glass-walled office building. His driver already had the sleek black limousine waiting for him at the curb. For years, Thomas had lived a life of luxury, his days filled with boardroom meetings, phone calls, and the constant rush of running a global empire. He was respected, feared, and envied. But he was also known for being cold and distant, a man who had forgotten what real human connection felt like. As he slid into the back seat of the car, he opened his phone to review reports. He had no idea that this day would turn his life upside down. Sitting quietly in the corner of the back seat was a little girl, no older than 9. Her hair was in braids, her dress a little worn, her small hands clutching a teddy bear that had clearly seen better days. Thomas frowned, surprised and annoyed. "Who are you? What are you doing in my car?" he demanded. Before the driver could explain, the little girl looked him straight in the eyes and said firmly, "Shut up." Thomas was stunned. No one talked to him like that ever. His first instinct was anger. His face turned red as he snapped, "Do you know who I am? I could have you thrown out right now." But the little girl didn't flinch. She just hugged her teddy bear tighter and whispered, "Please, just be quiet for a moment. I need silence." The CEO blinked, confused. Something in her voice wasn't disrespectful, it was desperate. Against his usual instincts, he didn't press further. For the first time in years, Thomas sat in silence, staring at the child beside him. After a few moments, he asked, softer this time, "What's your name?" The girl looked at him cautiously and said, "My name is Layla." Her eyes carried a sadness far beyond her years. The driver, an older man who had been with Thomas for decades, cleared his throat and explained quietly, "Sir, I found her near the building." She looked lost. "I thought maybe we could help before calling anyone." Thomas, still baffled, put his phone away for once. "All right, Layla," he said slowly. "Why were you sitting in my car?" Layla's eyes welled up with tears as she explained, "My mom is very sick. She can't work anymore. We don't have money for her medicine or food. I was waiting outside your building because people said rich people come here. I just needed someone to listen. But everyone just walked past me." The words hit Thomas like a punch in the chest. He had built his fortune on innovation, but in doing so, he had walked past countless people in need. His company earned billions, yet he had never thought of the children who sat outside his building. Invisible, he leaned forward, his tone changing. "Why did you tell me to shut up?" Layla looked at him with trembling lips. "Because rich people always talk too much. They talk about money, meetings, and things I don't understand. Nobody ever listens to me. I thought if I didn't make you stop talking, you would never hear me." Thomas sat back in his seat, struck silent. The words of a little girl had pierced deeper than any criticism he had faced in his life. For the rest of the ride, he didn't speak. He just listened. Layla told him about her mother, about how she worked 2 jobs before she got sick, about how they used to laugh together at night before life became so hard. She explained how they had been evicted, how they were staying in a shelter now, and how every day she prayed for a miracle. When the car stopped, Thomas made a decision. He asked the driver to take them to Layla's shelter. What he saw there shook him to his core. Families sleeping in cramped rooms, children without proper food, parents broken under the weight of hopelessness. Layla ran to her mother, a frail woman lying on a thin mattress, coughing weakly. When the mother saw Thomas in his expensive suit, standing there, she tried to sit up, embarrassed. But Thomas quickly knelt down beside her. "You don't need to explain," he said quietly. "I should have been here long ago." That night, for the first time in his life, Thomas Carter forgot about his board meetings, his profits, and his corporate empire. Instead, he sat with Layla and her mother, listening to their stories, sharing food with the families at the shelter, and seeing a world he had ignored for too long. The next morning, he called an emergency board meeting not to discuss profits, but to announce the creation of a new foundation. His company would fund medical care, housing, and education for struggling families across the city. He declared that a portion of every profit the company earned would go to help people like Layla's mother. When reporters asked him what inspired this sudden change, Thomas smiled faintly and said, "A little girl told me to shut up. And it was the best advice I ever got." The story of Thomas and Layla spread everywhere, touching millions of hearts. People saw a powerful man humbled by the honesty of a child. But for Thomas, it wasn't about publicity. It was about rediscovering his own humanity. Layla's mother soon received the medical treatment she needed, and she began to recover. Layla went back to school, her laughter filling the air again. And every week, Thomas visited them not as a CEO, but as a friend. Sometimes he even picked Layla up from school in his limousine. She would climb into the back seat, teddy bear in hand, and with a cheeky grin she would say, "Don't forget, shut up and listen." And Thomas would laugh, nod, and do just that, because in the end, it wasn't the millions in his bank account that made Thomas rich. It was the lesson of a little girl that true wealth is found not in money, but in compassion, listening, and love.